Hello, my name is Sadiq. I'm a world peace advocate. As some of you must have known me or like heard me, like when I speak on the street, or when I tell people like on Facebook or in the university or like any other place about the World Peace Project. So to briefly speak again, the World Peace Project is trying to like bring peace to the world. It's trying to make sure that every person like lives in peace and we stop like fighting wars, and then and humanity begins to prosper. So I'm going to like talk on some topics today, and once the first thing I'm just going to talk about are the wars like happening around the world right now, which is very very chaotic. The wars in Yemen, Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, and some other war-torn places. So the wars in Yemen, for example, it shouldn't like be something that should be happening right now because it's just like a war between two people that are like brothers and sisters and have like even the same religion. This shouldn't be happening. We should be able to live in peace with one another. So like we need to find ways of like finding solutions to this crisis so that people stop fighting wars and begin to live in peace. Um, People are dying in Yemen, and people are like so many people are like ostracized and killed daily, and there's so much bombing around that area. There's a need for us to have a peaceful and meaningful agreement into ending this crisis. Also in Iraq, for example, there has been war in Iraq since 2003, if I'm right, since America has invaded Saddam's forces, and there's a need for us to end the crisis there too. So there's so many bombings that always happen in Iraq all the time. For example, in marketplaces or in mosques or in churches or among the Kurds or among the Sunnis and all this. This shouldn't occur because, for example, um, we're all human beings. This is what really matters. I think there's so much hate in society right now that people just hate one another, and they feel the best solution to the problem is just to keep harming each other, and we keep going through this vicious cycle. Like we just keep harming ourselves all the time, and somehow you think you're gonna get a solution through that. We're never gonna have a solution except we begin to accept ourselves like human beings that are willing to deal responsibly with one another and live in peace. So Iraq, for example, we need to like stop the wars. The solutions that could be proposed is like having like anti-war detectors in different places in Iraq, so that the bombs could be like diffused if there are going to be bombs in marketplaces and places like this, and also the security forces along with the local people and even the opposing forces, maybe the so-called people they call terrorists or like the Muslim army, have to like come together into an agreement that they want to live in peace. So except the few people that actually want this crisis to escalate, I think like majority of people wouldn't mind, and there should be peace in Iraq, and people should be able to live well. Um, there's so many hospitals destroyed, so many people dying all the time. We watch this on the TV and on the radio. We hear this on the radio, and we read in the papers. This shouldn't be the case. So the solution I'm going to propose is like for us to at the World Peace Project to have about 300 or more people that are going to go into places like Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Somalia, and places like this, and we'll be talking to the tribal chiefs and also the opposing forces. So, for example, in Afghanistan, we should be in Iraq. We should be able to speak to the American forces that are still on ground. I should be able to speak to the fighting for the fighting forces that are fighting the Americans. We speak to each of them. Although I don't speak Arabic, I speak in English, which is very bad. I wish I could speak some other languages, but we need to speak to these people. We get translators to speak to them and tell them on the need for us for them to stop the wars, and then we'll do good deeds for them to see. For example, we offer them exchanges of like pleasantries, and we give them like good things just to make them. Just I'm not joking. We just make them feel happy and loved. So, for example, if you give the American soldier some things, like give him some things, and tell him that he doesn't really have to like fight people or destroy things, I think it would be better. And also the Iraqi people dying too. You provide them some good things. What things like what, for example, you might be wondering. I'm not necessarily saying chocolate, but I'm saying maybe like food, medicines. There are some people doing this already, but there's still more to be done. Food, medicine, providing them good houses. For example, people in government need to start to like think of how to rebuild all these destroyed places. So it's the duty of America, for example, that have destroyed so many parts of Iraq start to think of rebuilding it. They need to rebuild these places. I'm not saying America shouldn't start from the war in Iraq. They can, but they need to rebuild these homes for people, and they don't have to make it for the elite alone, but they need to make it for every person, so that they are very comfortable. For example, America takes a very strong role in like shaping world politics in one way or the other, whether we like it or not. And I think America as a whole has to like rethink some of its policies, like for example the imperialistic mentality that you need to invade a country just to subdue the president or whoever and to dance into your tune. I think this has to be changed. We need to take the road of global citizenship where people are respected, whether they are a weak country or whether they're a strong country. They need to be respected and they need to be paid like their full rights as individuals and as people to be able to prosper. So Afghanistan also, like the Taliban and the American forces have been there fighting since 2000 and I think 2001. I'm not too sure. I might be wrong on that. Please correct me if you know. Um, the Taliban has been there trying to enforce Islamic creed for a very long time, the pure Islamic creed, and the American forces are also there trying to fight the terrorists, which especially the Taliban. There is a need for a concession between the two because the West has like some military might, but at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is for us to like come together to an agreement that will stop fighting each other, because like the West, there's some benefits from the West and there's some benefits from the Taliban also. I'm not saying like I'm not saying like I don't want you to think that the Taliban is all evil. I don't want you to think the West is all evil. There are some goods in them. For example, the West, for example, has like good Western education. They have like they have like good technology and all this. This could help the Afghans like in schooling and in their educational system and all that. While the Taliban has like Islamic knowledge, which I don't know if they have Islamic knowledge so to speak, but I think they have Islamic knowledge in trying to like rule people. I disagree with the fact that women shouldn't go to school or like people should be treated like we should we should make Islam look as if it's like a very very tough or difficult religion. Islam is not so tough. Like I practice Islam at least in the maximum strength and I can as I can, and I see it very very good. I see it very well. I don't think Islam is against advancement or modernity as some people try to push it like it's a very backward religion. It's not. In fact, Islam is one of the most advanced religions if you are willing to see it that way, except that few people ever explore this or know this. They just like to think that Muslims are backward. So what I'm saying is that there's a need for like Islamic knowledge in Afghanistan, and there's also the need for Western growth of like their education and things like that. So there's a need for us to like make mutual consents and treaties among these people, and that's why the 300 able committee and the World Peace Group should be able to go into places like this. I can take the lead along with some other people. I believe it's the youth of this generation that will change the world. And we have to have faith, we have to have the belief that we're going to actually change the world. If we have this belief and we're strong enough to do it, then we can do it. I have some few friends among myself, me and among my friends who are supportive of the idea of the World Peace Project. I know I've been like very supportive to me, giving me hope and telling me that yes, we can have world peace. These are my true friends. And some people have been in doubt about it, but I think we can leave the skeptics alone, because like for everything you do in this life, whether like it's trying to spread love or whether it's trying to like do anything positive, you always have people that will like be like it's not possible. So we need people that have faith in these ideas to come forward and to start to like make changes. And this changes doesn't really mean that you have to say it on Facebook alone or like just within your house or something. You need to be vocal. I don't mean like just like start to make an open rebellion, but I'm just saying that we need to start to like practice peace, not just like talk about it, or practice it in our very homes and in our very neighborhoods and all that. So like this assembly of people who are going to go to like the tribal chiefs in these respective countries. So for example, in Yemen, we could like talk to Saudi Arabia and Iran. I don't see Iran or Saudi Arabia as mutual enemies, at least to my own self. Saudi Arabia has like the Kaaba, and they have like it's a very good Muslim site, and they are Muslims, Sunni Muslims and all that. and I think I see Iran too as sorry. Iran also is not like a threat to me either. Iran might be Shia, but they have like Muslims there, and they have like so many Muslim ideologies. Although they have like some anti-Western thoughts and all that, I think this type of hate, like anti-Western or anti-this, anti-that, against this and that, I think it's very important for us to like come to understanding that what really matters is the progress of humankind, how we can advance ourselves, develop ourselves, become better people, become morally upright people, people that are willing to change the world, advance the world. And there's so many things to be done. There's so many people dying every day of hunger, diseases, war, epidemics, earthquakes, and all this. And I think it's very important at this point and gesture that we start to find ways to improve and change these things as a whole. So it's very very easy. For example, there was in I mean not just wars, but like for example, people are suffering from hunger. Say like for in where can I explain that? Okay, maybe in India, people are or in Africa, people are hungry. The easiest thing to be done is like if you are wealthy enough, you'd always start some initiative. Some wealthy people are doing that, but there is more to be done. Start an initiative somewhere that you could feed people like daily, give them 3 square meals if you have money. And if you feel like that's just going to be a burden on you, you could find ways of like empowering these people, give them farms or like assign to them farms where they could like have like good fruits to eat and food to eat for themselves and their families, and also like start them with businesses where they can like produce these things at mass in cheap rates. I'm not talking about making GM foods that are like genetically modified foods that actually affect the body in a way, but making just producing natural fruits, natural foods like cassava, beans, cowpea, rice, things like this in mass, and sell them cheap to people so that people will be able to live well. At the World Peace Project, I actually propose like a new economic system to the world where like we have to have like where every person will be basically wealthy. You have enough money to buy whatever you would like to buy, and the only things that yeah, you can't buy from the system are like illegal things or corrupt things like drugs, hard drugs, or things of that nature, alcohol, things that are very dangerous to your health and are not allowed like in the belief system. So this kind of economic paradigm, if you could accept it, things would be very very cheap. So for example, in Egypt where I live, I said like a sheep could be sold for like five pounds. It might sound like outrageous to some people that can a sheep be sold for £5? That's too cheap. But the idea is that as long as there is enough money in the market and we could like produce these things and we produce and there could be enough sheep to be grazed to be able to eat and to be fed, people will be able to eat well. Not necessarily being obese, like not necessarily too big, but you'll be able to afford what you want and you'll be able to live well. There are so many houses in Egypt, for example, that are not occupied by people, and they are built very beautifully and all that. Nobody lives in them, and they are so expensive and all that. So there's the need for the government to lower the prices of these things, of these commodities, houses, real estate, make them very cheap so that people can live in them. Not necessarily for one person having 10 houses, one can, but for you to be able to have a modest house like with good air conditioning during this summer and good climate system or like warmth when it's winter, having like good delivery services, good laundry, everything good for you. This is what we actually want. I'm not saying I don't want people to think like, well, Sadiq is like living in a utopia. I don't live in a utopia. I think I live in a real world because I've been living like this for quite some time, and I think every person can live like that. You just need to start to like spread the idea of peace among people. And that I want to go to the next thing, which is actually like living. Like it depends. You have to like have peace within yourself before you can spread it to someone else. So I have inner peace, and because of that, I'm able to live like in peace with my very neighbors. I'm very good to people. I do good works and I do good deeds all the time. So we need to like be able to start to understand ourselves, love each other, care for each other, do good works. If you wake up in the morning, for example, and you eat, try to feed someone that is less fortunate with some breakfast or what you eat. It could be like a sandwich you just ate. You can buy two, give a complete stranger one, and you eat one. Or not necessarily if you eat more than that, but like just eat maybe you eat sandwiches or you eat like burger or whatever you eat. eat some for yourself, and then give some, and give another one to a stranger or a neighbor or someone in need. They really appreciate it. When you see like an animal hungry, like you feed it, like just do good deeds like this. It changes the world. I make sure that we're doing well. So when you see people, just say hello to them, greet them, you could shake them, and if they're of your sex, you could hug them, because I don't think hugging is really tolerated in of the opposite sex is really tolerated in the Arab world. But just make sure you do things that are affectionate, like kids, just give them kisses, or like rub their heads slowly, give them like candy, sweet, chocolate, or juice, like anything just good. Make sure you do this regularly. I do this all the time for people, you know. And the funny thing is, like, I'm not so wealthy, because if I was very wealthy, maybe as wealthy as Michael Jackson, or as wealthy as my dad, or as a billionaire, or whatever, I believe I'll be able to do so many good things for people. I'm not saying this just because I want myself to be known as a generous person, but I know I'll be able to do good things for people if I was very rich. So pray for me I get rich. Okay, and if you are rich, if you are rich and you're able to do these things, I think it's very important for you. It's not the best thing for you to just live in this wealthy life where you don't even care about people that are not wealthy, or that don't have enough to live in comfortable homes or wherever. If you're wealthy enough, there's nothing wrong for you to build houses for poor people, build them hospitals where you just like provide care for them so that they can get the basic health care with good insurance system for them to buy medicines that might be over or expensive, but you make it very cheap for them. And also even maybe help them in their school, like maybe send them to school to study, or help them with religious study, or help them with recreation, or help them with like buying them things like clothes. Many people, like when you give people clothes, you just give them their used clothes. There is nothing wrong in you buying new clothes for people if you have the money. Buy new clothes for them. Don't give them your used clothes to wear, because nobody can give you used clothes and you wear it, except it's your father or someone very. But usually it's good if you have the money. Buy them good clothes. Buy them even nothing. There's nothing wrong in buying them a quality shoe like Timberland. It's just your love. And I'm not saying that you should be extravagant, spend excessively on things that don't make sense. I think you should be able to spend well, do good deeds. We need to do good deeds, because when you begin to do good deeds and you actually do it from the heart, you begin to feel very happy. And when you're happy, nobody's going to rob you of that except you stop it, and you shouldn't. There's a need again for educational reform, in which like education could be transformed from, for example, AUC, for example, the American University in Cairo is a very good learning place. They have like so many good facilities, but there is more to be done about even from that institution. Talk less of like institutions like in Africa, that in West Africa or whatever, that have like very poor infrastructure. If we have like, there's nothing wrong in governments in these countries, or in Egypt, or in America, in Europe, or South Asia or whatever, to be able to have like good institutions with good facilities, and also having like state of the art technology to be able to foster people's education. So there's nothing wrong in giving kids computers, iPads, electronic dictionaries, Kindles, Amazon Kindles, using the hologram, things like this, just to make sure that the education becomes like something very easy for them. We are trying to revolutionize education in such a way that, of course, you study, but the most important thing is learning how to think. It's not necessarily for you to memorize everything, but learn how to think in such a way that you could bring something new to your field, or you could do something extremely different from what is actually being done before. This is how we should learn, not necessarily learning in such a way that, okay, I'm going to school, coming back home, going to school, coming back home, just to learn what some people have done like decades or hundreds of years ago, and I learned that, then I go back to the workforce, and then I do exactly what I'm told. You need to be able to break rules. You need to be able to like bring new things into the market, or into wherever you are. This is why we need to learn, and that's why, because of the advent of technology now, where things are evolving so fast, there is the need for us to make use of this technology. I'm not saying that if you're a computer science student, you should go into into the computer department, maybe to write a spell checking algorithm, for example, and then you see all the algorithm from a website and paste it and say it's mine. But what I'm saying is that there is nothing wrong for your professor to tell you that this is an algorithm, for example, and I want you guys to find a way to improve it. So this way, you, your professor, your classmates could work together as a team to actually produce something good, rather than working individually or like just because you want to have the highest grade, and then you present it maybe like through your hard work, which is good, but you could actually do something better, and then you present this and then you forget about the whole thing. It's not of use to anybody except like for that class grade. So we need to find ways to like start to break rules and improve things. Law, banking, investment, technology, electrical, electronics, everything like that. There's a need for us to start to think about the books. The libraries, for example, we could have like a very digital library where we don't even need books anymore. We just like have Kindles or like electronic media where we can download books easily, read them, check the definitions. If we don't have know things directly from there, we could also find ways to get the definition from somewhere else. If we don't understand after checking the definition, we would have an aid that would be of an assistant, maybe a computer aid, and things like this. We're going to like improve humanity in such a way that things are going to change drastically. Also, like for food production, there's need for us to have like very large farms where things are produced like fish, meat, cow, crops of all kinds, fruit. We'll be able to eat them well, and then people will be able to feed. So like, I don't think there should be any person that will be starving again, because like if we're able to like produce these things in mass at cheap prices and have quality distribution centers, not just like for people, and then we put heavy price tags on them and taxes, that makes it very impossible for poor people to get. It's not good. If you look at it very well, like these things actually grow for free because you didn't pay any money like in making it grow. Of course, you might say, well, you spend money on the seeds or the farmers that actually helped you in cultivating it, but nature actually produced these things for you, or God produced it for you, and the essence is for you to be able to, make some money from it and share with people too, whether like through charity works and all that. So, food has to be like produced in mass, and people have to be able to eat. As I said, it's not that you are meant to be obese or fat or underfed. We need to be moderate in whatever we do, eat well, and eat good food. There's nothing wrong in every person like eating a meal worth about $10 per meal, like just about $10 for one meal every time, like morning, afternoon, like $10. It's good. It's very good for us, and it helps us like to grow well, and then we'll start to like appreciate why we live than just like trying to struggle to make ends meet, and then we struggle, and then very little is really realized. Also, the factors of production, capital, as I said, there is a need for us to like change the way do we actually view capital. Most banks don't give you money except they know you're going to, except you have like a good property or whatever just to lay down, so that in case you can't pay the money, they seize your property, which is very bad because there's in the Quran, God talks about like if you borrow people money and they can't refund it, the best thing for you is just to like forgo it as an act of charity. But what the banks do now is that they not only just they don't forgo it, but they take your property, which is not good. It's forbidden in religion for you to see someone's property because they can't pay back. You're meant to forgo the charity. You're meant to forgo the loan or the borrowed money. And also people won't feel if like if we start to like think in a very creative way, like in an innovative way, we start to find good ideas, we share it with people, you get feedback from people, and people like work together, you start to work as a group, and then you won't feel this way because you have support from various people, and people are willing to support you. We are not people that want to make other people feel down, or steal their idea and copy it and do it somewhere. Because at the end of the day, you what you are doing, you think you are smart, but you are not really smart, because at the end of the day, I really believe every person will be called to account, like for whatever you do in this life. Nothing is just like you can't do anything and think you go free for just scot free. They are going to be accounted for by God Himself. So if you start to like cheat or like do things in ways that are not ethical enough, I think it's not good. So we need to stop this. It's part of the world peace idea that we need to like start to embrace ourselves as brothers, sisters. We need to love ourselves regardless of our race. There's nothing wrong in us like marrying one another, whether I'm black, whether you're white, whether you're this or that. There's nothing wrong in marrying each other. There's nothing wrong in having families among ourselves. There's nothing wrong in having businesses, transactions among ourselves. There's nothing wrong in having friends and things like that. We shouldn't start to like segregate each other or make sure or make us feel like we are not like a group of people that are meant to come together. So the Kurds and the Iraqis should be able to live together. The Arabs and the Iranians or the Persians should be able to live it together. The Yorubas and the Hausas or the Igbos should be able to live together. And don't be like, well, this guy is not from my tribe or is not from my race or is not from my whatever, I don't need to support him. If that's a good agenda for you and your people and every person, I think you should support him. Try to support me too, okay? Because I'm trying to do everything that is humanly possible to change humanity and affect lives. So it's very important for you to support me, and God will be with you. And again, there's a need for us to like find a way to reform the media, like because you check the media right now, all they show is like wars between this and that, corruption, and things like this. Just bad news generally. It's very disheartening when you watch cable channels, CNN, Al Jazeera, BBC, all these guys on political news. They're always like, oh, there's bankruptcy here, or oh, this guy is fighting this guy, oh, this guy is shouting corruption, and this thing just keeps going on and on. It doesn't seem there doesn't seem to be an end to it, and it shows there's something critically wrong with our world, because the way the news is actually meant to be in a very in the right perspective is for us to show development. Okay, Russia is cooperating with the United States. Okay, China is having agreements with like with Africa. Africa is improving in technology, and now thanks to Europe for helping them. Europe is getting resources from Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is actually embracing things like this. Like we're having like we're having like conflicts instead of like having prosperity, and it's not like prosperity is not happening at all, but like it's really suppressed and nobody gets to hear about that. And what this actually causes is despair, hopelessness, and counterproductiveness. That's why, like in a way, terrorism will never stop until we begin to see the good side of humanity, until we start to encourage that good side to prosper. There's some news media that actually that do this, but they're not as many as compared to like the majority who don't like care and always talk about the bad things around. We shouldn't be negative minded. I think it's very, very important for us to have a positive mindset. I'm not saying you should be blindly optimistic in such a way that you think like everything is possible even when you don't have the options of like fulfilling it. The best kind of optimism is for you to have like a mindset that things are possible, and then you seek a way to make it possible. Okay, believe that things are possible, not just things, but things that are good are possible, and you try to find ways to make it possible. And you find people that have like minds, and people that have like negative mindsets of wars, of poverty, of this corruption and all that. They need to be ostracized from society. They need to be eliminated. They need to be taken away. They need to be separated from the rest. But these are the people that are actually causing problems in our world today. Also, at the World Peace Period, we're trying to like find ways of like having entrepreneurial businesses. So if you can help us, like we're a group of people trying to start some businesses. So if you could help us, we'll be grateful. If you have ideas, we could come together and we will start like form our business, the Pure Sapphire Corporation, which is a corporation I actually found, and I'm actually looking for people that could assist in making it really, really functional in the world, so that we could be a very powerful force that will be changing and improving technology. We have several products and several ideas of innovative and inventive things we actually produce from the Pure Sapphire Corporation. And we have other incentives besides this. The Pure Sapphire Corporation has other subsidiaries under it. If you could like support us in any way, giving us capital or telling a friend that has an idea or like an engineer to come and join, and we start to like produce things together, we'll be really grateful. The profits we are going to make from this business will be directed towards changing the world And the best way to change the world, one of the best way of changing the world, is holding concerts. Not just musical concerts is good, and also having public awareness programs, like having like billboards telling people to change the world, having like documentaries, movies, on the internet, on radio, on TV, inspiring people to do good deeds and all this. There are so many people in the religious ulama and also the Christian Union, and also some people in the Jewish Union that do things like this. But there's a need for us to actually look into the proper cause of our problems and then look for tangible solutions to them. Okay, we are not just to start to like talk on like one problem and then there is no solution to it. We just keep talking on this problem and then we keep expecting that one day Mahdi is going to come or Isa is going to come, and we don't do anything. We just live like that. I changed to be a world peace advocate in 2012, and since then I have not changed my disposition even till now. Nothing really changed me except God Himself, and there are a few people that actually that are actually trying to change the world. So, an example is George Crowther, someone from the United States I just met on Facebook, and people in Live Vest Inside. People like this, they are trying to like find ways of like just inspiring people. We have like different angles and how we do them, but our objective is ultimately the same: trying to make sure the world becomes kindlier, better, and inspiring. And I think when people get exposed to things like this and they're actually willing to embrace it, that there will be world peace. It's very, very important for us to have the world peace agenda in our objectives. So I want to shoot we also want to shoot a documentary in the World Peace Project. The 2-hour documentary that will talk about world peace. We need film directors that could help us with this project. If you know good film directors that could help, and we need financiers that could help us travel abroad and go to different parts of the world just to talk to people that are in the know and are willing to support the world peace agenda. So, like as I said, like the world peace is not just about peace alone. It's about like inventions and growth in technology, and also science, religion, arts, music, business. Everything like that is going to be prosperous, inshallah, God willing. So we have to have faith. So I don't want you to think like because I'm a Muslim and you're a Christian or if she's Jewish means that I'm only supporting Muslims or this or that. I think I'm actually in support of the whole of humanity. I want the humankind to prosper. I don't want people to like live in misery. And people are like saying that misery can't stop on earth except when we die and we're in heaven. But I believe like even the human prosperity begins on earth. It's going to be a very good time. This is the right time for us to like this is the right time for us to think of making changes in the world. This is the right time for us to start to like inspire ourselves and have good thoughts about humanity and about ourselves. This is the right time for us to start to make changes. So wherever you can make changes, whether you're just like a secretary in your office, or you're the president of an institution, or you're the director of somewhere, or you're just a common citizen, try your best to do your best while you're in that position. Try to do the good thing. Don't be counterproductive. Don't be corrupt. Don't steal the public funds and use it for personal gains. When there is a need for people to like have good transport systems, have good systems that work, and I believe like instead of having complex security apparatus of like saying that I'm going to have like security checks here for IDs, I'm going to have like ATM machines with different codes, or I'm going to like when I leave my car I need to press the alarm switch at point, things like that. When the world peace project actually succeeds, things are going to change drastically. For example, we do envision in the world peace project that like vehicles very soon, classic vehicles or whatever, will be produced in mass for people, and they will be able to use those vehicles. And when you drive this vehicle, you'll be able to drive it, and when you drive it, take you to where you want. You park it. Someone else could use that same vehicle, while there'll be another vehicle for you to use when you want to leave. So it's not like you turn on your alarm system or make sure this is my personal possession. It's for every person, and it might look idealistic to people, but it's not idealistic if you're actually trying to think and reason like someone that is actually well enlightened. Like Europe experienced an age of enlightenment, and I believe like this is an enlightenment period for people to start to see that we need to make changes. We need to make changes in the world. And I believe like musicians, for example, shouldn't be singing about things that corrupts the soul or corrupts the mind. They need to spread the awareness among people that there's a need for changes, and not just musicians, artists, writers, politicians, orators, leaders of all forms of businesses and walks of life, teachers, engineers, scientists, every person, carpenters. For example, you might wonder, how can a carpenter like change the world? He can make his service quality, a very good quality service, and make it cheap enough, as long as it doesn't affect his own production cost. Of course, like you might wonder, like the production cost of getting log is quite expensive. So how shouldn't he affect it? Then the person making the logs, or the lumberer, sorry, has to be able to make sure that these things are actually made cheap, so the carpenter could produce a quality material at a cheap price and good quality, and then it has like messages on them inspiring to change the world and affect people's lives. And when it actually delivers services to people, it does it in such a way that it's good and people are like him for what he does, and it's loved by people. I'm loved by so many people around the world. I'm loved by so many people. I'm not I'm not saying this to make you feel good about myself, make you feel that I'm feeling good about myself, but it's true. You might be like, how do you know they love you? Like, but I see it like sometimes when I go like in some places in Cairo, for example, and they're checking people for security reasons and things like that. I'm just like made free to go, and they say hi to me and all that. I'm free with the police, free with the army, free with this, free with person. I mean, free with different people, and I'm not afraid. I don't get scared of people. I'm not someone that distrusts people outrightly. So when you see me and I offer you something, just know it's directly from my heart. I don't do it because I want to harm you or have ill intentions towards you. It's just directly from my heart. I'm a very good person, and you should also be good too. You should be good people, and we should wish the world well. And also, you need to like study the Quran and the Bible. I read the Bible, I read the Quran daily, and I don't neglect these books. I read the Psalms, I read the Proverbs, I read surahs in the Quran, and I practice these things solely. I really practice them. I believe in them so much because they purify your soul and make sure that you are pure. So you can't have world peace without religion. It's not possible. So for the atheists or like people that don't believe in God and all that, I think it's very important for them to get enlightened. And if they refuse to get enlightened, well, that's going to be a problem. But like it's very important for people who don't believe in God to be spoken to, and to we have like so many arguments that could make them believe in God if they are actually willing to give their heart to it. Because the essence of like having world peace or having good lives and all that is because you want to serve God. So I call on the faithfuls of religion, like the Muslims, Jews, Christians, and some other faithfuls, that they should like try to study their books and ultimately try to study the Quran. I don't want you to think like the Quran is a book that scares people away from God. It doesn't scare you away from God. It draws you close to God and make sure that you become a better person. You need to be able to practice and also learn, because things like this is what actually purifies your heart. And when you become purified, then you could live good lives. You need to be able to live good lives. I might be speaking to you right now. Nothing is going to change you except you start to like open your heart to like truth and understanding. You need to know that truth is there, and you need to know that understanding is there. If you understand the truth and you have love in your heart, and you're willing to help people as much as you can, then sooner enough you might become someone that will be infallible. I don't mean like someone that doesn't make mistakes at all, but like you'll be perfect in some sense. You'll be very perfect in what you do. Maybe in moral conduct, for example, you'll be perfect in it. You won't be able to. People won't say things that are bad and you agree with it because you know it's wrong, and you'll be able to make the distinction between right and wrong. If you fall into the wrong, you're able to seek forgiveness from God, and then God is going to love you, and then things are going to get easy for you. I think I'm almost concluded. Oh yeah, okay. Just one last thing before I end this topic on world peace today. You need to be able to disassociate yourself from wrong people. Don't be friends with people that like make you despair of like hope, or people that don't like you, people that are negative minded, people that are just too worldly and are not ready to make themselves better. You need to be friends with good people. Be friends with me, trust me. Be friends with other people that actually encourage things like this, Be kind to yourself. Be kind to people. Love your mom. Love your dad. And if they passed away, pray for them. Love your grandpa. Love your grandma. Love your friends. And don't harm your friends. Your enemies. If you have enemies, trying to find ways to bridge the differences between you. And stay good. Thank you. Bye.